Bronny James has lived under the spotlight his entire life, with every move magnified as the son of LeBron. His quiet freshman year at USC and limited minutes in his early NBA outings only added fuel to critics who questioned his readiness.
Storyline tonight, of course, that is a headline wherever he goes. People are talking about it, this being his first road game.
Yet, in the G League, he's begun to rewrite the narrative, delivering performances that have caught everyone off guard. But just what sparked this sudden rise? And is Bronny finally ready to prove he belongs in the NBA? Bronny's basketball journey gained steam at Sierra Canyon High School, a program known for churning out high-caliber prospects. While he displayed flashes of court vision, defensive hustle, and an improving jumper, skeptics questioned whether his skill would translate against seasoned competition. The label LeBron's son often overshadowed genuine analysis of his play. When he committed to USC, expectations soared. Perhaps he'd blossom into a star guard in the Pac-12. Reality hit hard his freshman season. Bronny managed a meager 4.8 points per game, averaging around 14 minutes. The Trojan roster featured talented veterans and rising underclassmen, so his role remained modest. Offensive sets didn't revolve around him, and in a system valuing both shooting and experience, Bronny often deferred to more established players. Despite occasional highlights, like a crafty drive or a well-timed steal, he struggled to assert himself consistently. Matters intensified when he made the unusual jump to the pros via an exhibition route, eventually appearing briefly for the Lakers. Although he joined LeBron to form the NBA's first father-son duo in a regular season game, the cameo was symbolic more than impactful.
History tonight, the first father-son duo to play together in an NBA game.
Fewer than 3 minutes per contest, 6 points a game in an extremely limited sample. The critiques flowed fast. Detractors chalked it up to nepotism.
To get what he got, it cost somebody else something who was more deserving.
While supporters urged patience.
And I must say, from what I've seen at the Combine, he does look pretty damn good.
Public sentiment skewed negative as social media spares no one, especially not James. Memes, highlights of missed shots, and snarky commentary took center stage. Meanwhile, the Lakers decided to shift Bronny to their G League affiliate, the South Bay Lakers, seeking real playing time for him. Given his underwhelming transitions, many observers assumed this was the final confirmation he wasn't prepared for top-level basketball.
So let's just be honest about this. Bronny's not an NBA player. He's not. He's not a primary ball handler. He's not a shooting guard. He's tiny. He's athletic, but everybody in the league's athletic. He's not an NBA player.
The G League introduced Bronny to a unique blend of experienced veterans, fringe NBA prospects, and ambitious rookies, all vying to prove themselves under less fanfare. Many believed it could be the perfect developmental haven for him. He joined the South Bay Lakers in November, but the early outings did little to change perceptions. In his first game on November 9th, he scored just 6 points while shooting 2 for 9, missing all 4 of his 3-point attempts, and committing 5 turnovers. Days later, another match yielded 6 points on 2 for 10 from the field, again without any success from deep. These two rocky performances seem to confirm the worst suspicions. Bronny lacked the scoring punch, efficiency, and ball security needed to hold his own against even G League level defenders. Online commentators quickly regurgitated the same lines. He got a roster spot only because of his father's status. His jump shot was broken, and he couldn't orchestrate an offense without coughing up the ball.
Bronny James was horrendous in his G League debut.
It felt like a replay of the earlier negativity swirling around his USC and Lakers debuts, only multiplied because this was supposed to be his proving ground. Then came a 3-week lull in the G League schedule. During that break, Bronny recalibrated. Upon returning, he posted 16 points in his next outing, a marked improvement from the single-digit outputs he'd been stacking. 5 days later, he exploded for a 30-point performance on 13 for 23 shooting. Suddenly, fans and pundits alike saw glimpses of a guard who could slash, hit mid-range floaters, and connect from downtown when he was in rhythm. Over his last 7 G League contests, the numbers solidified his turnaround, around 17.4 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists on 40.7% field goal shooting, including 32.5% from 3. The trajectory signaled a new comfort level. He started mixing in more effective drives, reducing ill-advised jumpers, and reading defensive rotations better. Even if his efficiency remained inconsistent, he was learning from each game, whether it was reading pick and roll traps or timing backdoor cuts. The turning point was a 30-point masterpiece that showed his expanded arsenal. He operated both as a primary ball handler and off guard, demonstrating an ability to adapt mid-possession. Each subsequent game revealed he wasn't a one-hit wonder. He posted a balanced 15 point, 7 rebound, 6 assist line one night, then followed it with 23 points, 9 boards, and 5 assists in another, suggesting the hot streak had legs. As the stat lines improved, so did the narrative surrounding Bronny, albeit in a quieter fashion. The G League doesn't command the same spotlight as the NBA, so his success flew under the radar. Much of the recent excitement about Bronny stems from strengths in his game that weren't fully showcased before. One of these is his burgeoning playmaking. While at USC, he rarely served as a primary ball handler for extended stretches. In the G League, he's averaging around 5 to 6 assists, revealing a capacity for setting up teammates off dribble penetration and pick and rolls. Clips show him driving, collapsing defenders, and dishing to cutters or open perimeter shooters. He's hardly a Chris Paul level facilitator, but there's enough creativity to suggest an evolving floor general skill set. Another positive is his rebounding from the guard spot. Standing at 6'4", Bronny isn't towering, yet he's pulling in about 5 boards nightly. This points to strong anticipation and hustle, attributes that can bolster a guard's value when his shot isn't falling. Whether it's swooping in for defensive rebounds or sliding into open space offensively, he's shown a knack for tracking the ball. The defense might be his most vital calling card though. Critics hammered him for not being a lights-out scorer, yet in the G League, he's consistently picking up opponents early, challenging ball handlers, and even notching multiple steals in single games. His lateral quickness, combined with improved footwork, allows him to funnel players into tough angles or force turnovers. At times, he exhibits a dogged mentality that stands out in a league brimming with guys chasing big offensive stats. Most intriguing is his finishing ability at the rim. While he's not a supercharged dunker like peak Westbrook, he's using body control and timing to convert contested layups. Some moves involve Euro steps or hesitation dribbles that freeze defenders just long enough for him to slide through. Despite the optimism, Bronny remains a work in progress. His shooting percentages, particularly from 3, still hover below an ideal threshold. At 32.5% in the G League, he's flirting with respectability, but for a guard aiming to be a rotation piece, the league average, around 36%, is a bare minimum. Many of his attempts stem from quick pull-ups or slightly forced situations, an extension of the confidence he's trying to develop. Those shots can energize a crowd when they drop, but they can also lead to elongated cold spells that sap a team's momentum. Shot selection ties into a larger issue: decision-making. While the expanded role has showcased his assists, it's also revealed turnover vulnerabilities. In certain games, he's piled up 6 or more giveaways, often from dribbling into traffic or underestimating the speed of defenders rotating. Overzealous passes contribute to the problem. Some come from good intentions, threading a needle to an open teammate, but the windows can be narrower at this level than in college or high school. Bronny must refine his internal gauge of risk versus reward. Another improvement area is consistency. Posting 30 points one night and 8 the next may reflect typical growing pains, but if he wants to elevate beyond the G League, he'll need a steadier baseline. Scouts prefer a guard who can deliver a reliable 12 to 15 points and 4 to 5 assists every game, rather than a roller coaster of big nights offset by subpar outings. Bumps are expected, but the smoother that ride becomes, the more professional teams trust his skill set. Additionally, though his defense appears promising, he isn't immune to lapses. Overhelping or occasionally losing track of shooters can neutralize the positives of his on-ball pressure. Opposing offenses will exploit any mental lapses, especially if they see him over-rotating. Bronny's challenge is to maintain focus on every possession, an attribute that separates solid defenders from truly elite stoppers. Finally, the intangible mental approach. The microscope on him is enormous, and building emotional resilience is essential. If a few missed shots affect his confidence, it can spiral. If he balances self-belief with humility, each stage of adversity can become a stepping stone. The G League is exposing him to the rigors of pro basketball, but forging consistency in both performance and mindset remains a top priority. Until he addresses these areas, he'll stay on the cusp rather than locking down a firm NBA role. Not everyone is convinced Bronny's path leads to sustained NBA success. Jeremy Woo of ESPN echoed a sentiment that many scouts share. there. While Bronny demonstrates unselfish play and a willingness to learn, his ceiling isn't high enough for teams outside the Lakers to invest heavy future capital. The argument is that a moderate skill set with limited star potential, plus a glaring need to tidy up turnovers, might not justify a roster slot in a league brimming with guard talent. Some scouts also highlight that Bronny's age is both a blessing and a complication. At 20, he still has time, but the modern NBA pipeline is stacked with fresh faces each year, players who might have more advanced shooting or bigger physical tools. Bronny's best advantage might lie in intangible qualities, his basketball IQ, professional mindset, and strong defensive ethic. Those can't be taught as easily as shooting form, but teams also crave specialized skill sets. JJ Redick, now affiliated with the Lakers staff, offered a different angle. He praised Bronny's mental approach and singled out areas like unwavering defensive effort and an openness to coaching. Redick believes if Bronny conquers the fear of failing publicly, his performance may surge further.
Bronny has earned this through hard work, and for us, prioritizing player development, we view Bronny as like case study one.
This perspective adds nuance. It acknowledges a psychological hurdle, a residue of living under the perpetual lens that follows James. The father-son dynamic can't be ignored. Some executives suspect the Lakers keep Bronny around partly to appeal to LeBron's desire for a father-son storyline. Yet that alone won't keep a player in the league. Front offices are quick to drop unproductive players, no matter their last name. If Bronny consistently displays that he can space the floor, run an offense, and lock down a backup guard position, his name recognition becomes an asset rather than a liability. Bronny's success in the G League is noteworthy, but it doesn't guarantee an NBA spot. Each season, multiple prospects light up G League scoreboards, only to languish on NBA benches or fail to crack rotations altogether. Luka Garza is a prime example. Despite posting monstrous stats, around 30-plus points and double-digit rebounds, he's bounced between partial NBA contracts and G League stints, struggling to find a permanent role. The discrepancy occurs because G League competition, while respectable, still sits a rung below the NBA's physicality and talent depth. Leonard Miller likewise soared in G League action but hasn't secured a major foothold on an NBA roster. The same pattern dogs older prospects who fail to convert gaudy minor league numbers into major league reliability. The leap demands an extra layer of skill and adaptability. Bronny's advantage might lie in a different approach. He isn't chasing 30-point nights. Instead, he's forging a balanced portfolio of defense, distribution, and opportunistic scoring. Teams hunting for a well-rounded role player might value that more than a single dominant skill overshadowed by deficiencies. Other under-the-radar G-Leaguers, Trey Alexander and J.D. Davison, produce eye-popping stats but remain question marks at the top level. J.D. Davison hovers around 26-28 points and multiple assists in certain stretches, yet the Boston Celtics seldom call him up for substantial minutes, citing turnovers, defensive lapses, or positional logjams. Bronny, for all his flaws, appears more comfortable filling the intangible gaps. Rotational defense, hustle plays, vocal leadership, possibly endearing him to a front office that prizes culture as much as skill. Of course, even success in a specialized role can be overshadowed if a roster lacks open slots or has entrenched veterans. Many players languish in the G League simply due to unfortunate timing or roster makeup. For Bronny, the Lakers' wide-reaching brand and possible willingness to nurture him could offset typical roster constraints. In addition, playing under the radar has let him experiment. He's free to chase rebounds, attempt advanced passes, or lock down a leading scorer without a national audience dissecting every miscue. Where does Bronny James go from here? The G League has offered him the playing time he sorely lacked at USC and in early Lakers stints. Continuing down this path for at least another season may be pivotal for his development, giving him dozens of games to cement his identity as a versatile guard. If he can consistently average around 15 points, 5 to 6 assists, and a handful of rebounds while converting 35% or more of his three-pointers, the framework of a legitimate NBA contributor begins to take shape. A key factor is consistency. G League schedules, though shorter than the NBA's, still provide enough contests to measure whether Bronny can maintain or build upon his current upswing. The more data he amasses, both for scouts and himself, the clearer his pro outlook becomes. Another offshoot is whether LeBron continues playing for the Lakers during Bronny's next 1 to 2 years of development. A father-son storyline is immensely marketable, and the Lakers might be patient with Bronny in hopes he can complement LeBron late in his career. Still, patience alone won't guarantee a secure spot. The Lakers roster juggles immediate title hopes with the necessity of developing younger talent. If Bronny can defend multiple positions at an above-average level, that skill alone might buy him a seat on the bench. Teams adore energetic defenders who can harass star guards, especially come playoff time. The difference between a two-way contract guy and a guaranteed roster player often hinges on intangible hustle and defensive reliability. Bronny James's recent G League surge underscores how swiftly narratives can change. Early struggles at USC and minimal NBA minutes fueled skepticism, yet his improved defense, scoring bursts, and playmaking now tell a more balanced tale. He's far from a finished product. He needs better shot selection, sharper decision making, and consistent three-point shooting, but the foundation is there. Whether he grows into a dependable NBA piece hinges on sustaining this progress, ignoring outside noise, and embracing every chance to refine his game. But what are your thoughts? Does Bronny truly have what it takes to one day dominate in the NBA? Let us know, and if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to watch our next video shown on screen.